From South Carolina Public Radio, this is the South Carolina Lede. I'm your host, Gavin Jackson, and this episode was recorded on June 2nd, 2025, from South Carolina Public Radio Studios here in Columbia. On this episode of The Lede, we recap the big state Democratic Party weekend, which included big party names like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Maryland Governor Wes Moore. They're not running. But don't mark my words for it because we'll see what happens. But there's also an actual development in the 2026 gubernatorial race with Richland Democratic Representative Jermaine Johnson announcing the formation of an exploratory committee. We have comments, details, and more from all these folks and fish. But also, more importantly, I would say, we have a live Lede taping next week. Can you believe it? It's next week, June 12th at 6 p.m. at Good Girl Brewing in Aiken with me, reporter Mayan Schechter, and special guest, Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey. So put that on your calendar, guys. Go to southcarolinapublicradio.org and hit that RSVP button. It's free, but we want to know how many people are coming, so check it out. That's next Thursday at 6 p.m. at Good Girl Brewing in Aiken, southcarolinapublicradio.org. Everything you need to know about it. But what we need to know, what's going on in your lives? Tell us what's going on. 803-563-7169. That's our voicemail box. I talked to a lot of you this weekend who said, I would love to call. I know it's hard. It's like when people say, I hear you on the radio all the time, but I don't listen to the pod. You're like one of those people right now, guys. So we want to hear from you. 803-563-7169. Give us some hot takes. Maybe say Gavin was mean to me when he interacted with me, which is a lie. What do I have to do? 803-563-7169. A little brief look at what's on tap for this week. The state Supreme Court is holding hearings on Tuesday and Wednesday, and Congress is back in session, and the tax and spending bill will be talked about, worked on in the Senate, so look forward to that, Senator Lindsey Graham's Budget Committee. But let's stick in Columbia here, folks.
Okay.
Where's the big, beautiful Democratic weekend? Now, you may remember, and I've talked to our interns, and they do not, but in 2001, the comedy film Zoolander.
Yes.
The main character, a male supermodel, the eponymous Derek Zoolander, played by Ben Stiller,
Yes.
finds himself in an unexpected moment of soul-searching as his perfect world is turned upside down amidst a rivalry with fellow male model Hansel, played by Owen Wilson.
Yes.
Who had just won Male Model of the Year, a title Derek was expecting to win for a fifth consecutive year. Derek has never had to turn internally to analyze himself in such a way that he asks his reflection in a street puddle, "Who am I?" It responds by saying, "I don't know." To which the real Derek says, "I guess I have a lot of things to ponder."
Wow.
All of that to say, the Democrats' soul-searching of the past 7 months continued last weekend as big names gave motivating and inspirational speeches to the state party's faithful during events such as the Blue Palmetto Dinner, Congressman Jim Clyburn's world-famous fish fry, and the state Democratic Party convention. So this is the puddle in the metaphor, if we're going to keep going here. But let's start at the Blue Palmetto Dinner Friday night here in Columbia, where 1,000 Democrats gathered to hear Maryland Governor Wes Moore speak as the headliner for the event. But there was also a bit of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as well, since he was in town for the fish fry and to headline the convention on Saturday. But let's stop here and note that neither are actively considering a 2028 bid, as Walz is fresh from the failed 2024 bid as Kamala Harris's running mate. Of course, 2028 is a while away, and things are always prone to change in politics, nevertheless. We'll have more 2020 prospects in a moment, and we'll have more on Moore in a moment. But as the two massive lines to the buffet slinked around this room at the fairgrounds, one Democrat hollered at me while I was sitting on the press riser minding my own business, but I will never say no to anyone who wants to talk, and that someone was Miss Maddie Thomas, a spry 75-year-old who is well known in the party and who was also a delegate to the DNC last August. She told me what she thinks the Democrats need to do to get their groove back.
We need a message. We need something that's going to get the people motivated and activated to come again. Obama said 3 words, "Yes, we can," and it took off. We need something like that to happen again. You see that, Beverly?
Yeah.
And if we can get that and get their attention, and they can say, oh, let's look again. Then we'll be all right.
As I say,
That's all we got to do.
if you had a bit of a magic wand to make things happen, I mean, would you make the party more moderate? Would you make it more progressive? What do you think needs to happen to maybe get more people back to the Democratic Party?
Go back to what we know and what we do best. But that's what we need. Just a good message. We didn't know Obama, but he caught our attention, didn't he? And that's what we need. Somebody just to grab us and say, okay, I heard him. Now I'm going to hear more. Then a little bit more. Then a little bit more.
I was speaking to another Democrat who wished not to be named, but said candidates need to do less talking and more listening. Close your mouth and open up your ears was the message. And that honestly wasn't too far off the mark from what Governor Moore said in part of his remarks.
This is the moment for us to say together in one voice, gone are the days when the Democrats are the party of no and slow. We must be the party of yes and now. Gone are the days when we are the party of bureaucracy. Gone are the days when we are the party of multi-year studies on things that we already know. Gone are the days when we are the party of panels. Gone are the days when we are the party of college debate club rules. We must be the party of action, and that action must come now. Because right now, we are being called on to act and to lead. The people want a growing middle class, and they cannot wait. The people want access to work and wages and wealth, and they cannot wait. The people want to feel safe in their own communities and safe in their own skin, and they cannot wait. The people want access to health care that is accessible and affordable and a basic human right, and they cannot wait. The people want good schools that are supporting our educators. And they want schools that are teaching our young people how not just to be employees, but also how to be employers, and they cannot wait.
But let's go back to Zoolander, because just like how Zoolander was trying to figure out blue steel, Democrats are working on their messaging right now. Maybe they'll go back to small towns and work in the mines like Derek did before going to the local watering hole. Disclaimer, this is in no way any advice or a plan, but what it comes down to is talking about the accomplishments and reframing the issues, according to Governor Moore, who said that to the crowd.
The result is, in Maryland, we've raised the minimum wage, we've quadrupled the number of apprenticeships, we've launched a new service year option for high school graduates, we've created nearly 100,000 new jobs since I've been the governor, and now Maryland has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the entire country. If you are connected to the people, then you understand why we cannot wait. Because they deserve better. And I believe that's what we have to be doing all over the country. The American people don't care how many studies we publish on lowering prescription drug prices if working families still cannot afford prescription drugs. The American people don't care how many programs we fund on affordable housing if they still cannot get enough money to save for a down payment. Urgency is the instrument of change. And you know who actually understands that pretty well? Donald Trump. Because let's be clear, we can and we must condemn Donald Trump's reckless actions. But we will be foolish not to learn from his impatience. Donald Trump doesn't need a study to dismantle democracy. Donald Trump doesn't need a study to use the Constitution like it's a suggestion box. Donald Trump doesn't need a white paper to start arbitrary trade wars that will raise the cost on virtually everything in our lives. And so we must think about it this way. If he can do so much bad in such a small amount of time, why can't we do such good?
We then scooted over to the fish fry, which was outside at the Adventure Museum here in Columbia, and is more of a people's party where anyone can come and have some fried whiting on white bread and a few drinks for free. All for free. It's a big old block party, honestly, featuring some politics. Clyburn, Moore, and Walz held a press briefing where Clyburn was asked about the order of the 2028 presidential primaries, which has yet to be decided by the Rules and Bylaws Committee. Because you may remember, back in 2024, we went from first in the South to being first in the nation thanks to President Joe Biden.
I think it's important to the party for that to be the case. Will not be 1, 2, 3, or 4. I don't care. Now, I joke about this, but it's true. My real game growing up was baseball. I was a baseball player, played it in high school and college. The most important hitter on a baseball team is a cleanup hitter, and he comes in fourth place. And South Carolina's always been fourth, and we've demonstrated how important being in fourth place was. So I'm not concerned about whether or not we're first, second, third, but please let us be at least fourth.
When asked about their 2028 prospects during the gaggle, here's what Walz said.
Big thing is that I think we all know is Congressman Clyburn's created an event down here. This is an important state. It's an important state not just because it's an early primary state. It's an important state because I think we've made mistakes in not focusing across the country. And the one thing is, I have been convinced Donald Trump sucks up so much oxygen and so much media oxygen that we need all of our players on the field in every single lane, making sure we're getting our message out and hitting back. So I think when we make this opportunity, when we get the opportunity to talk in front of the press, we can talk about the policies that are hurting our communities, that are hurting our states, and make that case. So I agree with Wes on this. I'm making the case that we do need to build the infrastructure. We do need to get the message out there for 2028. And when I say we, I'm talking about the party of getting out there. When that time comes, people will know who that's going to be, and they'll deal with that. But it is a mistake. Donald Trump ran ever since he tried to overthrow the government on January 6th. He ran every single day until that election last November. We don't expect to win, as we said. We didn't use our time as wisely as those people did. And I think now we're using our time.
Here's what Moore said about 2028 as well.
No, I've been very clear that first that I know I'm not running, but the thing I'm also very clear about is, anyone who's talking about 2028 is not taking 2025 very seriously. We are watching direct assaults on our communities, direct assaults on our neighbors, direct assaults on our legacies. That's taking place right now.
And then the two got their shot to speak before the rowdy crowd shortly before 10 p.m. with, honestly, the perfect spring weather and a DJ bumping the hits of the 80s, 90s, and today. That is a massive jump from the 90s to today, but I refuse to differentiate. Now, again, Walz was the former 2024 vice presidential nominee, and he hit the stage first.
But I was on that campaign. I called it my 90-day Eras tour to 7 states. I went to the same 7 damn states over and over and over. You know what? People are pissed off in South Carolina. They're pissed off in Texas. They're pissed off in Indiana. And there's more of us than there are of the billionaires. So we need to change the attitude, compete in every district, compete for every school board seat, and come out to this damn fish fry with the attitude, we're going to fill up on some fish, and then we're going to go beat the hell out of these guys.
If you haven't picked up on it yet, it appears that the new messaging strategy by some Democrats is to talk tougher, which includes using some swear words to break through and get the crowd a little bit shook. And then Wes Moore spoke.
We are not going to drop it. We are going to run through the tape, and we are going to win because we understand what's at stake. This is the time. This is the time when people are going to learn that you are not just going to attack us and attack our future and attack our children and think we're going to take it. We fight back.
Now, Walz, who is a former high school teacher, brought that message of needing to talk meaner, especially to a bully, like he said Trump and others are, to the convention on Saturday morning, where some folks were still recuperating from the night before. I'm not referencing myself because I went home and I was in bed after the fish fry speeches. I was like, please, I want to go to sleep. Our good friend Meg Kennard did the same because she had a 6 a.m. CNN hit on Saturday morning. So when I say that the campaign trail PTSD is coming back, Mamma mia.
Oh, how you doing?
But at the convention, I got to talk to several of our dear leaders. Thank you for saying hi. But Governor Walz gave a pep talk like he would to his high school football players back in the day, or like he did during the Chicago convention back in August. Except this time, it wasn't going into the championship game. Rather, it was 7 months after losing it.
It's a bit old school in this, and I'm doing some soul searching, and I was the guy who was there during this last one, but I'm convinced there's an appetite out there for this style of governing. This idea of competency, this idea of compassion, this idea of being able to get things done. When you poll people, they love our policies, but they can't love those policies if we don't enact them. And if we don't elect Democrats, we don't get a chance to do it. So this is not a chicken and the egg type of thing. You need to elect people who are in it for the right reasons, who want to improve people's lives, who are willing to do the work and build the coalition behind them with a strong party unit, strong county units, strong Democratic infrastructure to get those folks word. And look, the thing we have to do is we have to get past this thing. That I saw recently that apparently the Democrats got together and hired a bunch of people, and they went with the hotel to discuss how we could best message to people, how we could come up with calibrate our words that we're using. That's how we got into this damn mess. Because we're really cautious. And look, I know all of you in here, we say stuff like, oh, you know, we have, because we believe it. And we're kind people and compassionate. We have to fight food insecurity. You're right. But just say we have to fight kids going hungry in the richest country in the world. Just tell people where they're at. And don't be afraid and stay away from the poll-tested things that are out there, because what Republicans understood is they identified the problem with people, and they got people thinking that they were with them, like Donald Trump. What the hell does he know about somebody in South Carolina struggling to make ends meet? Almost nothing. But people believe that. Because what I have to think about is we've got to have people know that we're actually listening to them, that we're actually hearing what they're saying. And then I'm just going to say this because it seems so simple, and I don't see it. We've got to show the guts that we're willing to. I feel like there's folks that aren't willing to say the things necessary because they might be worried they might not get reelected if they say that. I'm not going to say that, and I don't think any of us can. I'm getting called out on this because I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Oh. The governor's being mean, and the governor's speaking out on that. Well, maybe it's time for us to be a little meaner. Maybe it's time for us to be a little more fierce. Because we have to ferociously push back on this. And again, I'll speak to my teacher colleagues in here. The thing that bothers a teacher more than anything is to watch a bully, to watch this bully and to stop it. And when it's a child, you talk to them and you tell them why bullying's wrong. But when it's adult like Donald Trump, you bully the shit out of him back. You push back.
In addition to these big names in the national party, there were also some rising stars at the state level trying to get their name out there as well ahead of the June 2026 primaries and as these statewide races ramp up. You heard about that in our last podcast. But moving on to some more firm news for the gubernatorial race, some tangible, non-fungible. We got news that Richland County Democratic Representative Jermaine Johnson was launching a gubernatorial exploratory committee. That's an official maybe, folks. And he's the first candidate on either side of the aisle to give that official maybe. Looking at y'all over on the Republican side. Now, Johnson, who turns 40 on the 4th of July, is a 2008 College of Charleston graduate where he also played basketball before playing professionally in Europe, and then became a community leader, small business owner, and state legislator in 2020. Johnson also holds a doctorate in business administration and organizational leadership. You will remember that you've heard him on this podcast before during major debates on social issues like CRT, DEI, and even the budget. He's had viral moments that gained some national attention, but he also prides himself on his willingness to work with others across the aisle, even if that doesn't always yield results. Here's part of his speech before the convention, which you could say is directed at a certain congresswoman who has yet to jump in the race.
We have seen so many attacks on individuals just because they love differently, or just because they believe differently, or just because just because they look differently. But we can't allow that no more. Because who we are the big tent. Everybody is welcome here. And that is how South Carolina should be operating. Everybody is welcome. Everybody has a place in this state. Everybody has a life that should be valued. Everybody is important, and we won't allow any of that to go unnoticed. We will do better. We will stand for better, and we will do what has to be done because we're going to be outside. We're going to be knocking those doors. We're going to be wearing the soles out of our shoes, and we are going to knock those doors until our knuckles are bloody. We are going to do what needs to be done in 2026.
Johnson also spoke with reporters after his remarks at the convention and addressed the challenges of Democrats running statewide in this very red state that hasn't elected a Democrat statewide since 2006.
Well, I hate the term or the phrase that they always use, I can reach across the aisle, I can reach across the aisle. I don't reach across the aisle. I get up and I walk over there and I go sit with them in that other side. And I spend a lot of time hanging out with my Republican colleagues because it makes no sense to hang out with Democrats all day long who are going to say yes, yes, yes to everything that you say. I need to hang out with the individuals who are going to say no. I want to know why you're saying no. So let me figure out what brought you to where you're at to say no, and let's figure out the compromise in the middle that you can live with, that I can live with, and that could be a benefit to everybody that's out here.
Again, Johnson has just launched an exploratory committee, so we'll be standing by for a formal announcement soon if he chooses to run. This was another big Democratic pod for you guys. Sorry for my Republican listeners. This was just the news this weekend, and don't worry, when we start getting some statewide candidates announcing, we'll be talking to all y'all. Just give me a definite maybe, and we'll be there. Welcome to the wind down section, our little break from the news. We're glad you're here, along with A.T. Shire, lead podcast producer. A.T., hello.
Hello,
Hi.
hello. Happy new week.
Happy new Monday.
No more Mays.
June. It's June.
It's gonna be June.
It's gonna be June.
That's right, dude. Gavin, we didn't get a call.
Oh.
Okay. But we did get a text.
Oh.
A text from the high seas.
Oh.
Okay.
My favorite.
Yes. It reads thusly. Greetings from SV time, currently in North Atlantic Ocean, south of Tropic of Cancer. Thanks to Starlink, we can stay connected to our favorite podcasts and SCE TV. Thanks for your coverage of SC politics and State House news. This is from Captain Robert and First Mate Abby. Anything maritime-centric, we eat it up, okay?
Gavin Open Seas Maritime Report, Gossamer.
This is Gossamer
content. They
content.
could sponsor it almost.
Amazing, yeah. I'm so happy you're listening from the Tropic of Cancer. That's so good.
That's such a flex. What a cool thing to say.
Honestly, it is a flex, but also
a good one.
I feel like you should probably have better things to do.
No! They're just like...
I can't imagine be lounging on the deck of a boat in the Tropic of Cancer and go like, I wonder what...
the lead boys
I wonder
up to.
what AT thinks about AI slop.
Well, they're like, okay, I think let's get back to the sunset.
Fast forward. Yeah.
That's the same thing I think about when people listen while they're working out.
Yeah.
I listen to plenty of podcasts, but I can't listen to anything but music if I'm working out. I can't listen to people talking. I think I've talked about this before. When I ran cross country in high school before the iPod.
Yeah.
Before the iPhone.
Did you run with CDs?
No, but because there were some rudimentary MP3 players that came out.
I was going to say, you're going to need some extreme anti-skimp on your CD that you're running
Yeah,
with.
it's a yellow Discman with like the hand.
And it's strapped
grip.
on your arm? Yeah.
No, but I would run with some of my friends, and they were better runners than I was, and they would just talk the whole time. And I'm just like,
oh,
they're having fun, and I'm just like, oh, this is misery. I'm only doing this to stay thin. Like,
I think it's because you're a normal person and not a runner. Yes. You were a normal person running.
I was such a normal person that I'd spend the time finding the cut throughs of Rock Creek Park in DC, and you could walk enough that it would cut the time, so it almost timed out that we were running that. That's not a metaphor for my life in any way.
No, it means nothing.
I can't imagine.
It doesn't mean anything.
I didn't cut it. I worked for everything I got. Listen, except this podcast that my father gave
If they
to me.
didn't want you to take the pads, there wouldn't be pads, okay?
There's only one set of footprints. It's because I was on the path.
Yeah, exactly right. I skipped that part. Yeah.
No, I mean, cross country was fun. It
doesn't sound fun.
It wasn't.
Sounds bad.
I mean, we always try to lean into like, oh, we whatever you guys do for our practice is your misery or something like that. But we never had like the clever.
It sounds like you're.
And then we'd play ultimate frisbee, and I was not good at frisbee either. So it was pretty
next.
brutal.
You're going to tell me you're doing improv or something.
No.
Yes-anding while running. Ugh.
I don't think I could do it. There's a lot of rules to improv.
Tons. Yeah.
But I mean, do you think we're pretty close? Do you think we should start doing improv in the wind down?
Actually, I'd be really good at it?
Just instantly flipping. Wait a minute. Do you think we could turn the wine down into like
I
an
would
improv?
never do that unless you think I'd be really good at it. Yeah.
Once I learned about the rules, I think Amy Poehler has a pretty good podcast out, and she's mentioned some of that because that's how they all got their start doing that improv.
All of them, yeah. UCB or Second City or whatever. Yeah.
I couldn't watch it. I'd be like just tense the whole time watching some improv, especially bad. Remember were we watching improv? We were just watching stand-up comedy in Philly when we were on that trip that one time.
Yes,
for a
that was
pod.
just open mic stand-up.
It was
brutal.
It was brutal.
It was bad.
I'm glad we had each other because it was rough.
Yeah, no, it was not good. But the Yinglings were hitting, I gotta say. Yinglings were
So I was in Philly with AT.
Dude, we were jumping all over South Street, drinking Yinglings.
Someone was telling me about there's a place in Charleston that there was a restaurant and they were doing cheesesteaks, but not the right way, to which I can't remember which way is the right way. It is with the whiz, right?
You could get a good whiz, yeah. I mean, whiz is not wrong ever, okay? You say yes to whiz, but like if you're saying it just has cheese on it, that's fine too. What you want is not just cheese on the top. You want diffused cheese throughout the cheesesteak, so if you let it cool, it gels into a solid.
There we go.
It's very off-putting, so you got to eat it while it's hot. Don't look at it when it's cold. Don't look at it. It looks like a chapstick.
Oh, that's my tube sandwich. Just turn it into a chapstick.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think there's too many wrong ways for a cheesesteak, except maybe making one too fancy. I don't want a fancy.
Don't put truffles on it. Yeah, don't put truffles on it.
Shave some truffle.
When we went to Woodrow Street in Philly, that was a great cheesesteak. But we'll leave it at cheesesteak chapstick for the day, Gavin. You know what? Well, that's the last mental image. If you're listening to this on the boat,
look what you made us do.
Cap and First Mate, I'm sorry.
Well, hey,
I'm sorry. At least you're in a beautiful place.
God, they're probably like eating fresh fish just right off the boat. Just like
they spit it out.
Just cutting into it and just eating straight up.
God, yeah. I'm sorry.
Meanwhile,
I'm so sorry.
This is fun being in the studio.
This is fun. This is good. Our interns are here for the first time, just observing. So I apologize to everybody.
They'll be on
honestly.
soon, hopefully, if they're not too terrified by us already. But hopefully you'll hear some from some authentic Gen Zers.
We're scared. Don't worry.
We're just as scared as they are.
Outro, Gavin.
Yes, okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Captain and First Mate, for giving us a text. We love that. Again, you can text us. You can call us at 803-563-7169. Enjoy your time listening to the pod. We love hearing from you guys, and thank you for all your support. You can also leave us a review on Apple Podcasts if you wish to do that as well, or a review. Give us some 4 stars, 5 stars. It's 5. We want 5 stars always.
5 stars.
Pretend I didn't say 4 stars. And you can always stay updated with the latest news at scetv.org and southcarolinapublicradio.org, where you can also RSVP for our live tape at Good Girl Brewing, June 12th at 6 p.m. in Aiken. We want to see you there. And don't forget to support your local newspapers. The South Carolina Lede is a production of South Carolina Public Radio. Our producer is A.T. Shire. Amy Crouch is our supervising producer. Sean Birch is our executive producer. This podcast is produced with support from PRX and is made possible in part by a grant from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, as well as listener contributions to the ETV Endowment of South Carolina. For the South Carolina Lede, I'm Gavin Jackson. Be well, South Carolina.
You know what's the most depressing part is if I am dead, I came to work in my dreams.
Nothing's changed. See, Rena, this is your father. This is where your father used to work.